Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about music, actually about the music industry specifically. And some of you in my audience will be familiar, you know that I'm actually a musician. I've been playing music my whole life, performing in bands, and now doing my own music. Pretty much my entire life is involved performing music or booking music. It has, in fact, been a major part of my life prior to me getting into activism and journalism. And today we're going to talk with a friend of mine from back in Texas who is trying to tackle two different areas of the music industry, particularly helping artists who are having to deal with another area of our world that has monopolies. This is the music industry, and more specifically, the streaming industry. You guys know the Spotifys, the Apples, and the other companies out there that pretty much have monopolized it in the same way that we saw in the pre-internet age, the way record labels monopolized everything. Some of us thought that the internet would be, like with many areas, freeing and decentralizing and would allow people to put their art out there, their music, in a new way. And it has done that. Anybody can make music and upload it online to any number of platforms. But when it comes to actually being able to make money and survive, in many cases, we're still dealing with the same type of problems where you have to go through a major company. It might not be a record label anymore, but a streaming company. And there are still gatekeepers on your path to trying to be a successful artist who could potentially make a career out of it and a living out of it while doing what you love. So today we're going to talk to my friend John Hale, who is involved with a company Solstream and FlikTicks. John, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so before we get into it, maybe you can share just briefly about some of your background. You know, your life is also very much revolved around music in different ways. If you want to share about some of your other businesses and really what brought you to this point of trying to tackle this problem.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, most of my life has been involved in music in one way or another. You know, I grew up playing music and kind of decided, you know, I didn't really want to have to sell myself to someone else to be at their mercy and kind of go through them and, you know, to decide what my, I guess, future path was going to be in music, whether I was going to, you know, release music or this and that. So I started doing those things on my own just to kind of remove some of the barriers that were in front of me. It seemed like a quicker solution than, you know, trying to, you know, network for the next 20 years or what have you. So then I started releasing my own music. I started opening music venues to have shows to play at, so I wouldn't have to, you know, sell myself to promoters or booking agents or things like that. And sort of kind of, you know, just slowly over the past 20 years, breaking down, you know, each barrier that was in front of me, kind of led me to where I am now with, you know, record label, distribution company, streaming, and then also, you know, like with that entire process, you know, and then opening up the music venues, you know, I kind of saw the barriers in the sort of event ticketing that were just the kind of the same old business as usual, where you have, you know, gatekeepers and things like that, you know, more walls you had to break down. And so kind of led me to where I am now, which is kind of, you know, trying to develop an ecosystem that, you know, kind of breaks down those walls for everyone.
Yeah, and so you're involved in the music venue side, the record label side, and now, as you said, the streaming and the ticketing. So I think it's really cool, and I think it's important. And anybody who's listening to this who has ever spent some time in a local band trying to make it, or just as an artist, you understand the challenges that come up that you might face. But for those who aren't familiar, John, could you describe, like, what is the current? As I was saying in the introduction, like, we went from totally being dependent on record labels to now the internet, people can put their music out there. But what does the current ecosystem look like in terms of, if I'm an individual artist and I just want to go out there and get my name out there and I got to go through Spotify and other people, what does that look like? How do artists get paid? Can you explain a little bit about that before we get into the solution?
Up until now, if you're an artist that wants to release music, you're going to have to go through a major platform that's going to handle that distribution for you. So you're not in control of the content you release. Once you release it, you can't make you know, an edit to what you released. You're not really in control of your content.
And are artists being paid for that? Like, whenever you upload your music, say I go use one of these services you're describing, or just do it myself, do you get paid per stream, or how does that actually operate for any artist? And obviously, like, if you're a major artist and you're getting billions of plays, that might add up. But again, if you're a local band, what are they actually being paid through these services?
Well, the idea up until now has been it's a pay-per-stream model, which, you know, they pay maybe a third of a penny on average. Or Spotify, I think, pays like a third of a penny per stream, and they kind of do it on sort of a weighted model, so that, you know, the majority of the streams are usually to these larger mainstream artists, and that's where the majority of those funds go to. And about 2/3 or more of the artists on the platform aren't getting paid now, because they've changed their policies to where, you know, they have to have a certain number of streams to get paid at all. So what that ends up looking like is 2/3 of the artists on the platform, they don't have to pay. They get to keep that. They get to keep that money.
And so then everybody else who's, like you said, having to pay annual fees or whatever just to be a part of these services are paying into it, but not necessarily getting anything back for their efforts.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so that would be through Spotify. It's even for me. Like, I try to put my music out on places like Odyssey and these alternative video platforms, and even I use things like Bandcamp and SoundCloud. Let's talk about that for a moment before we get into your platform. What would be the major benefit or drawback for an individual who puts their music on a Bandcamp and tries to just sell it, you know, per song or sell it per album or whatever, instead of putting it on Spotify? Would they be more likely to be paid that way? Obviously, you still need to get your music out and promote it and have people even know it's there. But what's the benefits or drawbacks of that?
Well, I think that there is a pretty solid movement now that, you know, Spotify has changed their policies and a couple others are following suit. There's a big movement of direct to consumer, where artists are taking their content they create, they're having their own website, and they're selling to consumers, which is kind of like what some of the services you mentioned do. But I think the problem with that is I think you're sort of not accounting for an element of human psychology, you know, right? Like a lot of if you take, say, Netflix or some of the other larger streaming platforms, people, they want to get the most content they can in one place. They don't want to pay subscriptions for every single thing they want to watch or every single thing they want to listen to. They don't want to have a ton of different subscriptions to different places that they can't keep track of. So I think there's a whole element of human psychology where that might be a challenge for the majority of artists.
Gotcha. So, and to some degree, there's a benefit from being on one of these bigger platforms, because that's where everybody's at. But then obviously you point out some of the flaws in that. And that brings us to what you're doing now with Solstream. And so I'm excited for this, because not only does it present a potential solution to everything we just discussed, but I think it's also another great example to highlight, especially for those in the audience who are hesitant or ignorant of blockchain technology, and, you know, only know about it in relation to, say, Bitcoin, and assuming anything blockchain, anything crypto related is all just about, you know, gambling or people trying to get rich or something like the stock market. But this shows that there is actually another use case for this type of technology. So go ahead and tell us all about Solstream. We described now the problem, and clearly we see that there is a need for something better. How does Solstream solve some of these problems that you've mentioned?
Well, I think the first problem it solves is that it keeps artists in control of their content. So you can upload yourself directly to the platform. You can edit the content, you know, immediately at any given time. You don't have to wait for another person, like a third party, to go in and approve the changes, and then maybe they'll happen a week later, things like that. So it keeps you in control of your content. The other thing is it's not a pay-per-stream model, because the pay-per-stream model is flawed for many reasons that we talked about, but also it sort of incentivizes you know, bot activity. So then if it's based on streams, you can set a bot to play your track 10 million times, and then all of a sudden, you know, then you have those problems that pop up. And then, you know, then there's you know, a sort of non-transparent reporting aspect of some of those other traditional platforms that, you know, they can say that you've got this many streams or you didn't get this many streams, and there's no third party auditing system, right? So there's no checks and balances. So with blockchain, integrated into this sort of system, then you have some sort of transparency involved. And so it's, like I said, it's not a pay per stream model. It is a subscription based payouts. So it's, the more people sign up and listen to the music on the platform, the more the artists or content creators are paid out.
And is that when you say subscription, is that like specifically like signing up for a subscription to Solstream as a whole, or do individuals, like, say they come on and they find some artist's music, some band's music, and they subscribe to them directly? How does that subscription work?
No, they subscribe to the platform, like I said, because there's a benefit to going to one place and getting the most content you can get, and I think that works out the best. And so when someone subscribes to the platform in general, then that is the subscription revenue that's paid out to all the content creators on the site.
Awesome. So the more people who are using the platform and the more people who are promoting it and sending their audience to go there to listen to their music, then everybody benefits from that.
Everybody's kind of working for each other in that sense. It becomes a community.
Gotcha. And does it have all the typical, I guess, features that people would expect from the more mainstream platforms like Spotify in terms of, you can release single songs, you can release albums, you can do playlists? Like, does it have all that sort of stuff people are used to?
And you can follow the artists and you can comment on their pages. They have their own pages on there so that you can communicate back and forth if you'd like, or things like that. So like as we build, we're adding elements, things like that, to kind of make it unique, a unique user experience.
And tell me more about the blockchain side of it for those who are familiar with the technology. The blockchain is it correct that it's on Solana?
Yes.
What made you choose to go that direction, and is there a token associated with Solstream?
Yeah, so we went with Solana because basically, it's right now the speed of the blockchain and sort of some of the elements with building on it were a little bit more familiar and a little bit beneficial for this particular area. In the future, we plan on being sort of multi-blockchain, multi-chain platform, so that it's further decentralized. And so then there is also a token associated with the platform that you can pay for your subscription with it. You can get paid out in it if you'd like. There's always the option that you can go with USD, or you can go with the token that the platform uses. But like I said, that also the main benefit there was transparency, and they're with the traditional platforms not having any sort of third-party auditing system. This seemed to solve that problem.
So when you say that the transparency, and you mentioned earlier the problem with the other platforms, if somebody could create a bot and just have it listening to a track a million times and logging that, and then obviously they get paid through that. Are on your platform on Solstream, are the listens, are they like logged on the blockchain, and is that something that people are able to see in some way?
As of right now, it's not something that you can see. That is something we're working on with building the platform. But we do it also by unique users. So it's by like fans of certain artists and plays from unique users or unique IP addresses, right? So you can't have an IP address play a song 1,000 times and it's going to count for 1,000. It'll just count for the one. So it's by unique users.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I definitely appreciate the attempt at transparency there. And are you currently looking for any other help with this? Like, I know that because I know you're a man of many projects, and this is something you're really putting your all your energy into. And I think it's definitely a much needed solution right now. And I would hate to see, like I have, unfortunately, and I know you have seen over the years, many crypto related, blockchain related projects come and go quite simply for lack of support, not because the idea is not great, not because it's not needed, things like that. But are you looking for support, whether that means, looking for more team members to help out with this, looking for people to obviously join the platform, to buy the token? How can people support to make sure that this doesn't disappear?
So all of the above. Like I said, the main thing that this platform is trying to do is solve a problem. And I think that people are starting to realize how big of a problem this is becoming. And I think that, support comes in many different ways. It comes from subscribing to the platform, participating in the token side of things. We definitely are looking for developers to help on the back end and sort of improve on the system. The technology is here to solve the problem, but we're going to have to keep working and keep building and to make sure that we keep up with, the technology in the same sort of manner.
Awesome. Yeah, I love what you're doing with this. Before we let you go, let's talk a little bit about the ticket side of things. You've also launched another company called FlikTicks. You touched a little bit earlier on how, just from being a musician and running a venue, record label, et cetera, you've seen the different flaws in some of these industries. What are the major problems when it comes to ticketing? Most people will be familiar, of course, with Live Nation, Ticketmaster. These are the monopolies, at least in North America, maybe all around the world, really.
Sure.
What are the specific problems related to that? Is this just another case of artists being cut out and too many hands in the pot? What are you trying to solve in terms of tickets?
It's sort of the same elements, right? You have vampires in every industry, and that's what we're dealing with here as well. Is that you have these large companies that have a monopoly basically on the event ticketing systems, and they're charging these exorbitant fees and just really kind of. It feels a little, like I said, like a little bit predatory. I guess that's the right word. It seems very predatory. So you have, starving artists that are, working day and night creating things, and people are entertained, and then you have other people just sort of, for lack of a better term, just taking everything. Anyway,
yeah, parasites, predators, like you said.
So they're charging these. They're charging these very large fees. And then I see every day with running a venue that you have, like, the promoters aren't able to really get paid. The musicians really aren't, the bands aren't getting paid. But these ticketing companies are just raking it in. And so, the idea, the problem that that's the problem we're trying to solve with FlikTicks is if the bands and artists and promoters and agencies are able to make a decent living, then they can keep doing what they're doing, and then in turn we get to keep doing what we're doing. So we're, in a sense, still trying to create this ecosystem that is self-sustainable. So we take those fees that people have been paying and are willing to continue to pay, not those, not exorbitantly high, talking maybe 10% that people are paying on top of the ticket prices, and we're turning around and giving that back to the artists and the promoter and the agencies and things like that, so that they can keep doing what they're doing. Like I said,
yeah, it's awesome. I wish I had something like that when I was starting to promote shows. That would have been helpful.
Right, and it seems just like it's just a better, more sustainable way of operating. You can't continue to kill the creative industry and expect to still, profit from it at the same time. It's not sustainable.
And so when it comes to using the platform, is this specifically for musical concerts, or could people use it to sell tickets to any kind of event, like something like an Eventbrite or one of those alternatives?
Yeah. You can anything that you can have a ticket for, you can use the platform for.
So in this case, another way people can support in terms of FlikTicks specifically is anybody out there listening right now. I know there's a lot of activists, a lot of organizers and musicians in our audience. The next time you're hosting an event and looking for some way to promote that to people, to sell tickets, instead of using Facebook, Eventbrite, one of those other platforms, you could check out FlikTicks and start using that to support not only an independent company that's trying to help and give back, but also, once again, making sure that this company, both these ideas, Solstream and FlikTicks, can stick around. So I definitely want to encourage everybody in my audience to do so. And of course, the links to both of the websites will be linked below wherever you're watching. John, anything else you want to say about these two platforms, and just, any closing thoughts on, like I said at the beginning, to me, this is just one other area of our life where we see monopolies, we see parasitic, predatory behavior. And in my audience, we talk about this in terms of big pharma. We talk about this in terms of the food companies, food distribution companies, and of course the government and other areas. This is just another part of our lives that we might not always think about when we're enjoying our music or going to concerts and shows, how the same problems we see in these other areas are also seen in this industry. Any last thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, I think like we were saying, I think that we're trying to create solutions and a sustainable environment for whatever industry that we're in, and I think it's going to take everybody. It's going to take we can come up with solutions all day, but if nobody is supporting it, if nobody is taking action, then they, like all the projects you talked about earlier, they kind of die off. And I think that that's what I would say, like it takes a community to make solutions become a reality.
Absolutely. Perfectly said. All right, everybody. The websites will be listed below. Solstream, FlikTicks. I encourage you to check them both out. Use them. I know I'll be putting my music on Solstream. It's already on there. And I'm going to be using FlikTicks for some of the events that we have coming up, including the People's Reset UK coming up in September, the People's Reset in Mexico in January, and any other shows that I do in Houston. I plan to be using the platform. So excited to check it out, John. Thank you for all of your efforts and for the work you're doing, man. I appreciate it. And everybody at home, thank you for listening. Until next time, as always, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace. Since 2012, the Conscious Resistance Network has been an independent media organization focused on empowering individuals through education, philosophy, health, and community organizing. We work to create a world where corporate and state power do not rule over the lives of free human beings. Our motto is leading by example and helping others in their pursuit of freedom. Visit theconsciousresistance.com to find our articles, documentaries, interviews, podcasts, books, and more. Remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free.